Let's continue to refine the third section of our animation. Okay, so staying within our range, if we were to go ahead and hit play, you can see, alright, this left arm seems to move a little bit too much as the character looks back at us. So let's have it move a little bit more like the right arm. We'll go ahead and show our controls and make sure we go to a different camera. Can select the control, and let's actually decrease this a bit, because that right arm isn't moving too much, but it is moving enough. So for the left arm control, with that selected, let's go to 158 even, just one frame after this pose on 157 that we have, and we'll middle click on 161 and press Shift W and Shift E, and let's look at the movement there. Just hit play. That doesn't look too bad, but of course the hand's moving down, because on 180 we have it at a similar pose to what we did have on 161. So what we'll do here is just, again, we can go just maybe one frame after on 162. We'll middle click on 180 and then press Shift W and Shift E to lock in the pose there. Let's see if how that looks. Alright, doesn't look too bad, but I think the wrist could move a little bit more. So let's say on about 165 we have rotate down for a little follow through. And then going to about 171, we can middle click then on 180 and press Shift E so it doesn't move too much as it rises back. Alright, great. And of course another thing would be the elbow controls. They're moving a little bit too much. So again, let's go to 162 and we'll middle click on about 180 and press Shift W to lock in the elbows pose there so it's not moving too much. Great, that's looking much better now. You can even see that by hitting play. Excellent. Alright, so it pretty much looks like this section is finished. So we can move on to just finalizing this third section. We may not finish it in this lesson because we have just a few things to do. One, we're going to have the hat shift back. Okay, so we'll animate that. We also want to work on the footsteps too. Okay, so we have a few tasks to do before we actually have them run off screen. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, we'll look at the timing here as he's pulling up his belt. Just hit play. Okay, and let's say we have him after he's done doing that we go to his hip control and also look at our translate Y key to make sure that the hip is going to be up as long as we like it to be. Alright, so I like this pose here on 201. Let's go ahead and set a key of the translate Y there. And now we're going to have him drop the belt so he can fix his hat. So we can add even a little jiggle effect here to the upper body. So we'll just, on about, let's say, 208, have hips move down. And about 217, we could have them move up a little bit more, but not as much as what we had on 201. And then on about 227 or so, let's see what this would look like if we just brought this down just a little bit more. Brought down the hips, and then we could hit play to see what type of effect we get. Alright, the timing here looks a little bit slow, so we can fix that. First off, I'd like to take this key on 201 and maybe bring it up just a little bit more. And then we can fix the tangency so we have a better arc, better flow in our function curve. And then the time the hips drop, that timing looks okay, but let's speed up the time at which they rise back up. We can take this key and maybe move it 3 frames to the left to speed the timing there. Let's see how that looks as we hit play. Great. And then for this next key, we'll also shift its time so it's about, let's say, 4 frames over. Let's see how that looks. Great. And then as we get to 230, we'll just bring them up, maybe even to a value of 0 for the Y, to bring them back to just their default. Notice the hill and valley effect that we're getting too, so that should lead to a pretty fun result. Alright, great. So now that we have this, can work on doing the same for the chest, similar to what we did for the hip and our in the take part of the animation. So let's say on about 202, we'll set a key, the translate Y there. And as the hips start to fall, maybe we can on about 206 bring up the chest here just slightly. And then as they come back on 213, let's see what would happen if we brought the chest control down. And on 219, we can bring that up again. And on 228, see what happened if we just brought this back down closer to a value of 0. Let's see how this looks. Alright, great. So we have a little jiggle effect. You may or may not want to have it a little bit more intense, but it looks like the intensity looks quite well here. So knowing that we're going to want him to drop the belt at about that time where the hips are falling, can start working on keying the follow switches so that they switch back to world. So can have that happen at about 202 or 201. Let's actually, for this left hand, set a key of the hip right where it's at. Okay, the follow switch, and then on 202 we'll set that to world. And then we could adjust this hand so that it appears to have let go. So we'll bring it to a side and bring up the hand. We'll also need to adjust the elbow here too. So bring that back. Maybe even bring the arm a little bit more to the side. Okay, let's see how that looks. And right now our pose is off because, of course, we need to lock in the pose for the hand on the hips. So in a case like this, we'll probably want to just go ahead and, let's say, delete the key on 202. And on 201, we'll press Shift W and Shift D to lock in the hand there. And then we can go back to setting this to world on 202. And then fixing the hand's position so it looks as if it released the belt. And notice, alright, now that's getting to be a little bit better. Alright, it is a bit snappy, but we'll fix that. Okay, but it's going to be much easier to fix now that we have done this. So let's go ahead and bring our attention to the right arm. Releasing. Can probably have them release at the same time, but just offset their poses so it looks, so that they look a bit different, so that we're not getting a twinning type of look. So on 201, we'll set a key of the follow switch, and we'll also press Shift W and Shift D to lock in the hand's position. And on 202, we'll switch this to world and fix the hand. And we could even go to the elbow control and adjust that, bringing the arm back there, and also the shoulder as well. We have a pose for the shoulder on 201, so we could always take that, move that to 202, and then adjust the shoulder from here so we don't add any extra keys that we don't need. Alright, excellent. Alright, so right now we do have the hands still kind of spinning on us. Can go ahead and look at their key, and as we do, we can see that of course we had a key on 230 where the hands were still on the character's hip. So on 230 we can set that to world and do the same for the right hand. And remember, we're going to have the character adjust his hat as well. So let's say on about 210 we start to bring this right hand up to his head. Okay, right by where the hat would be. And then we can adjust his elbow too. And the shoulder as well. The shoulder is definitely going to move, so we could bring that up. See how this looks? Alright, so we're going to need to definitely adjust the arc here, but looks like that's going to work well for us. And then what we could even do, since we have a hat follow switch, we could even work with that. So that might make it a little bit easier on us as we move the hat back to its original position. And remember, we're going to add an offset to that as well, so that it just doesn't go back to the same spot, because that would be unnatural if it did. So we can set a key set to world here on 210, and the next frame on 211, let's have that set to hat, and we'll rotate it back to a similar spot. Okay. Maybe even fix the rotation of the wrist. So let's see how that looks. Alright, that's going to work well for us. And now, being that it's set to hat on 211, we'll just go to 230 and also make sure that it's going to be set to hat here. And we'll make sure on 211 that we middle click on 230 and press Shift W and Shift D to lock in the character's hand position there. Alright, great. So now that we have this, what we're going to do is stop the lesson here and continue working on this section in the next.